Greetings, brothers and sisters. Yes, I decided to go live this morning. There's something that I would like to talk to you all about this morning. Yep, I'm up having my early morning coffee and breakfast. Just got finished eating breakfast, actually. And I'm eating my tea, drinking my tea. Um, there's a subject and a topic of discussion I like to discuss with you all today. And let you all know, a few things for the record to clear all confusion, you know. Um, I went on the Sarnetta show a couple of days ago, and I publicly declared, unlike others today, they are declaring that they are no longer Israelites. And many, after what Sakari has pulled, are leaving the Israelite movement. Many are leaving the Israelite movement. I saw Maharaka. Now, Maharaka started out from the original ISUPK school, if I'm not mistaken. This school go back to the 60s, and they shut down around the year 2000, meaning that Maharaka has been an Israelite at least since the 90s. And because of what he is seeing, he had to become real with himself. And he says that he is not leaving God, he's not leaving, but he is leaving the Hebrew Israelite movement. Then I see Ringo. Ringo, he does a show and he's talking about how he no longer want anything to do with the Hebrew Israelite movement, and that he no longer identify and doesn't want to be recognized or have any affiliation with the Hebrew Israelite movement or Israelite. Then this morning, I just happened to see Pastor Dowell. Pastor Dowell states, that he does a video about what I'm talking about now, that many Israelites are leaving the Israelite movement. And he started off with a lot of the sentiments that I have, that many that have left the Israelite movement and that are leaving the Israelite movement quite possibly were never Israelites to begin with. Now, when I say that, I'm not saying that for the same reasons that Pastor Dowell is saying that. Pastor Dowell is saying that maybe that these people have not made it to the standard of Israelite and just can't measure up, and were never measured up and never surmounted to Israelite capacity. Well, my sentiments about that is a little bit different. I'm saying that most of the people that are leaving the Hebrew Israelite movement were never Israelites to begin with. And I'm not saying that because that they never measured up to the bar of the Hebrew Israelite standards, like Pastor Dowell is stating. I'm stating that because basically, by nature, if your doctrine is correct and you're born an Israelite, then by nature, you are of that standard. You're cut from that cloth. So my sentiments is not like that. I feel that those who claim to be leaving the Hebrew Israelite movement are those that were never Hebrew Israelites because many of them were Christian. And no matter what the Hebrew Israelite movement tell you, the Hebrew Israelite does not require you to get rid of Christ. And therefore, by your acceptance of Jesus Christ, you never crossed the threshold of Judaism because Judaism does not accept Jesus Christ. And nor in your lifetime or in 1,000 lifetimes will they accept Jesus Christ. Or 2,000 lifetimes or 3,000 lifetimes. For that's how long they have not been accepting them. And probably that's about how much longer they're not going to accept them. And Christianity is not a part of the tenets of Hebrewism, of Judaism. Okay? So when I say, I left, when I say that I am not a Hebrew Israelite, excuse me, because I never left the Hebrew Israelite movement. I never was a part of it. And I made it clear on the Sinetta show that I never was a Hebrew Israelite. Okay. And when I say that, it must be made clear what a Hebrew Israelite really is. Okay? A Hebrew Israelite is a Black identity hate cult. That's what it is. And I have never been a part of the Black identity hate cult. Now, years ago, African Americans were called Black Jews. That's what we were referred to. We were referred to as the Black Jews. And you can reference this by reading a book by Dr. Yosef Ben Yakanan called We the Black Jews. He goes back and talk about the history of African Americans and their long history with the practice of Judaism. The great surgence of Black people identifying with Israel, Jews, Hebrews, or any of those monikers is not something new. And this resurgence has happened once before back in the 60s and at probably a much more alarming number and rate. But today it is happening, and it is happening real fast and at large, right? So African Americans have long identified with Judaism, and the earliest of the Israelites, going in my history, practiced Judaism. They were Black Jews. Later along the line, Israelites, Jews, the Black Jews began to accept Christian tenets. Now, these Black Jews has always identified as Jews, Hebrews, Israelites, Judah, Yahudah, and even saints, the saints or the Kadashim. Later on down the line, these Israelites, especially when you get like in the 60s, identified as Jews. So unanimously across the board, many of them wanted to be recognized as more as Hebrew or Israelites. Why? Because most of us, by way of slavery, had lost exact contact to what tribe that we had come from. So many of us just wanted to be recognized by Israel because we knew that we were Israel, even if we did not know what particular tribe that we had come from. And that's it. They didn't want to be identified with the Jews. So the reality is this. When you put it all up on the scale, right? The Black Hebrew Israelites is another term that morphed because out of blacks and Hebrews and Black Jews, right? The FBI and the CIA began watching after these groups, and they labeled them as the Black Hebrew Israelite groups, which were mostly. Now, when you say the Black Hebrew Israelite groups, you're mostly talking about your One West Caps and your One West groups. Okay? For prior to the One West groups, most of the Israelite organizations had strong tenets of the Old Testament in their beliefs. You know, the Old Testament took precedence. They were more adherent or lenient towards Judaism than Christianity. Most of them studied and had great respect for the Hebrew language. So after the Southern poverty? What is that? I forget what they call it. Well, the FBI and the CIA began to start watching these groups and start sending out sales and people watching these groups, informants, and start infiltrating these groups and things of that nature. And the CIA coined the term Black Hebrew Israelite, and they named them as the extreme groups. And these groups are your ISUPKs, your IUICs, your GOCCs, your GMSs, and many of their knockoff groups that came from up out of that organization. Uh, uh, what is it? The house? What is it? The Israel? What is it? The Church of Israel, Church of Jesus Christ, or something? I don't know. The one with Aria and Comfy in a minute. The late Comfy, Jermaine Grant, Tazadakia. But anyway, back at the ranch. So those groups are the Hebrew Israelite groups. I've been in this for the longest. And we never identified as Black Hebrew Israelites, right? We either Hebrews or Israelites, you know what I mean? Maybe even Hebrew Israelites. I think that some of us adopted the term, but that's just a blanket statement, a blanket term. And it doesn't mean or carry much weight of anything. It's just an identity blanket term, generic. It's a very generic in nature. So when I say that I was never a part of the Hebrew Israelite or the Black Hebrew Israelites, and I never was, meaning that when I came into this by way of the Pentecostal church with this understanding. And the greatest influence I've had probably was a man by the name of Brother Ben Ami Ben Israel. I've read a book of his, and his book actually just was his profound writings just touched in my life to a degree to where it changed my way of thinking. You know, at this point, I never I just read this one book, you know, and I never followed after nobody. I never chased after nobody, but the book just was a very, very thought-provoking book. And it was called God, the Black Man, and the Truth. And once I've read this book, it was clear to me that we as African Americans had a strong, strong relationship to the God and the God of and God, the God's peoples, you know, of the Bible. And that pretty much you know, was the beginning of it for me. But the thing about it is that Vietnamese group is one of those groups, like I was trying to tell you, from the old school that was very, very, very dependent upon the Old Testament, and in which the Old Testament had taken precedence. Vietnamese group has left the United States of America, and they have actually moved over to the land of the Israelites. They live over in Dimona, Israel to this very day. So they are Israelites, meaning that they are natural national citizens of the nation of Israel. It's not to say that they were born Israelites, although many of the people of the last 50 years are born Israelites over there because they're born in the land. They're born into the citizen, the culture, and the nation of Israel. But they're not people that are Israelites simply because they joined one of these cults, one of these One West knockoff cults. And when I say that I'm not an Israelite, it's clear that I'm not one of those Israelites because I've been in the truth. I'm not in a cult, I'm in the truth. And the Hebrew Israelites are a cult. You understand what I'm saying? You know, I'm saying that I am a black man. That is the truth. I'm an African American. That is the truth. I told you I'm in the truth. And that I study and practice and believe the faith of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You know, I practice the religion and the faith of the Jews. You know, I practice and worship the God of the Jews. Thus, by definition, it makes me a black Jew. And by any and every stretch of the word, I claim and I harness that word. So, yes, I am a black Jew. That's what I have always identified with ever since I have left Christianity back in the early 1990s. I do believe, but it's not important to my faith. It's not important. What's important is that I follow the law, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Elohim. And what I teach is things that the Black Hebrew Israelite movement does not teach. The Black Hebrew Israelite movement have never accepted me. These One West groups, when I began to teach, they always have made it clear you're not one of us. And we are. And I ask, so who are you? And they'll tell me that we are the Hebrew Israelites. So if I'm not one of you, then I'm not a Hebrew Israelite. Yeah, you're born a Hebrew Israelite. They come with that rhetoric, right? But you're not one of us. You're not that. You're not an accepted, walking, anointed, and appointed Israelite. They come with that rhetoric. Basically, I'm not an Israelite. My teachings, my views are not Hebrew Israelite at nature. And they never, ever, ever were. You know, Hebrew Israelites believe that Esau is the white man. And I never believed that. Hebrew Israelites believe things like Lot had sex with his two daughters and they had the babies. And when the babies came out, the babies had, they were mongoloids. They had a disease and they had big heads and squinchy eyes. And they were mongoloids. And that these mongoloids created the Chinese race. And therefore, the Chinese are the Moabites, the sons of Moab. Ridiculous and crazy. That's Hebrew Israelite. I have never believed that. I've never adopted that. I've never accepted the Lashawan Kadesh as Hebrew at all. Okay, I accept it as made up nonsense, rubbish, gibberish. Uh, Somewhat like a hybrid between Pig Latin and Pootie Tang. You know, I'm a sign yo pity on the runny kind. Wadata. You know, you know, the crazy, you know. I've never accepted Jesus Christ as a part of the faith or as the Messiah, which is very important to be a Hebrew Israelite. My faith have not required that probably since I left Christianity. And that's really, really the truth. Although I entered into this by way of some type of messianic Christianity, which was Ben Amina, but trust you for me, they do not believe in Jesus Christ or any other of these names that you give them, you know, and the persona and the character that you give Jesus Christ. Ben Amina don't believe in that. But you'd have to study them. But what I want to say about Ben Amina is that in the eyes of white Judaism, right, real Jews around the world are not a threat to white Judaism because they recognize that it is a brotherhood there. The BHI cult will always be recognized in the eyes of Jews or Judaism, the white Jews, as anti-Semitic. And what I'm saying is that the white Jews cannot, by any stretch of the imagination, call me anti-Semitic, because me, as well as the group that I came into this understanding with, were halakha. You know, the kingdom of Yah over there in Israel are halakha. When Ben Ami passed away, and when the Jews of Israel come into our communities over in Dimona, you know, they recognize these communities as halakha. So they doesn't recognize us as a cult. We're not part of the cult. They don't like the fact that we believe that our ancestors are those peoples. But nonetheless, it doesn't create conflict because we adhere to the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High in the same halakhic fashion as they do. And one thing is for certain, it has been well documented that the European Jews have accepted me, my clan, my organization, my teachers and elders as halakha. So I've never been a part of a cult. I've been a part of the Jewish religion, and a Jewish religion that consists largely of African Americans. Yeah, we are a part of the Jewish country, language, history, culture. You know, we can't say that about the antithesis, which is these One West cults. These One West cults are the Hebrew Israelites, the Black Hebrew Israelites. And that is what I mean when I say that I am not a Hebrew Israelite and that I never was a Hebrew Israelite. And it's clear that they never accepted me as one, you know, so that's how that goes. So I wanted to throw that out there, put that on the air. I'm going to end this live 25 minutes to the less, and I'm out of here.